Assalamualaikum guys. There are some huge rumors going on that Tom Aspinall will be leaving the UFC after two more of his fights, and his current contract runs out now. This rumor, it's a huge rumor first of all because the most we have got is Andy Aspinall, his father, talking about it in multiple videos. We have not found any clips of Tom Aspinall talking about it himself or the UFC talk about it directly, and the key word here is directly because ever since those clips came out during fight week of Silgan Thomas Panel, right? Ever since those clips came out of Andy Aspinall saying that Tom's potential in boxing is insane and he should definitely box. That Andy wants Tom Aspinall to box after his contract runs out. After these clips were released, right? The UFC has been very, let's just say, harsh towards Thomas Panel, right? Because they are not promoting Thomas Panel at all. And during the press conference, the post-fight press conference, Dana White was pissed off at Thomas Panel. Like I know it's a recurring theme with Dana White, constantly hating his heavyweight champions. We've had that a long time ago in Randy Couture, Stipe Miocic, of course, the most infamous one, and now Thomas Panel. Like these champions that are named, they are great champions, but it's just very strange, right? Because like somehow or some way they just end up having a really bad relationship with Dana White, or should I say Dana White himself doesn't really want to have a good working relationship, unlike Dana and Jones, of course. So I'm really during the post-fight press conference, first of all I was very surprised that Dana was reacting in this manner to Thomas Pan's because it was a clear epoch, it was a brutal epoch, and in a title fight that was obviously the fight obviously should have been called off. And the way that Dana was saying it, right, that he was saying shit like only Tom knows what happened in there, right? Like Tom didn't continue because like Tom didn't continue because he did not want to continue, as I said. Very specific wording from Dana White, and of most likely Dana is behaving this way just because how genuine and honest Andy Aspinall was about the future of Tom Aspinall's career, and that just might affect Tom Aspinall in a very negative way, because obviously they are very honest people, and obviously they like if they want to, they have the 100% right to say whatever they want. They are obviously expected to speak their minds, but in situations like this where we have seen before that Dana White, as soon as he hears people who want to, promotable guys who want to leave the UFC, he instantly gets charged up, and guess what, he will make Tom's life a hell until that contract runs out. He will give him the most unfavorable matchups. He will offer him fights in the worst time. He will constantly talk shit about Tom's game plan, and like to portray Tom Aspinall to the media as the bad guy, right? So to me, that's first of all, it's very pathetic of Dana White, because obviously we know that the paying problem that the UFC have right now, and though I personally agree with the UFC's like how the UFC pays their fighters. I personally believe, like if we compare how boxing pays the UFC, pays their competition, how the politics work, and the UFC, I believe the UFC is much more superior and much better. And I feel like the way that the UFC operates, by rankings, champions, contenders, and even the amount of money they give, and they obviously give fight of the night bonuses, and knockouts, finishes bonuses, performance of the night event. I personally appreciate that type of system compared to something like boxing, where basically the fighters, they own all the money. And that's the reason why boxing is, in modern day boxing is much more corrupted compared to the MMA or UFC. So yeah, as I said, I don't really appreciate Dana White doing what he does, but you have to understand, this is Dana White. He obviously has a huge ego, so it's very expected of him to do that. But honestly, I feel like Tom Aspinall at this point. After we obviously saw Andy Delisha get knocked out by Waldo Acosta, so obviously he has Cyril Gunn next, then Alexander Volkov, then Acosta, then potentially Derek Lewis. What I'm saying is right now there are a lot of hungry heavyweights, and like DC said, right, like like with the contenders that the division has right now, Tom can go on a generational run. Though that might have been the case, though I would have believed him when he said it. Right now, at this point, it's looked like that the future of the heavyweight division is very dangerous for Tom Aspinall. I'll be honest, because as I just named those fighters, and all of them are hungry. All of them want to be the heavyweight champion. Even Cyril Gunn, just Cyril Gunn himself will definitely be a chip on his shoulder, Tom Aspinall, until he actually finishes Gunn. And I'm just like honestly, I'm very excited for the heavyweight division. Like I don't want Tom Aspinall to leave the UFC. I don't want him to like leave after 2 more fights, because he obviously has a great potential, and as he said, he wants to fight at least 3 times a year, right? So if he is able to do that, if he can actually do that, because the way that he feared John Jones, that's insane, bro. Like, because when you do that to the goat of the sport itself, that's just something else, honestly, because the like that's is just chef's kiss, honestly. So yeah, Tom has that aura to him. He still has, though he did not look the greatest against Khan, but still. And if Tom Aspinall leaves the UFC after 2 more fights, the heavyweight division will absolutely be a mess, because then like John Jones, the heavyweight champion, retired. Francis Ngannou, the heavyweight champion, went to PFL, and now Tom Aspinall, the heavyweight champion, went to boxing. That's a broken division. Like that's I don't want that to happen. Heavyweight division is great, during the times of Cain Velasquez, Steve Miocic. Those were the days, right? Like during that time, we knew what prime heavyweight was, and I know the heavyweight division in boxing is much better, undisputedly much better than the heavyweight division in MMA. But I still think the UFC still has the potential to make the heavyweight division great again, like to make the heavyweight division amazing. Like not fights, not fights at the level as Chris Barnett versus I apologize for forgetting his name. Like Chris Barnett versus I think Hamdi. Yeah, I think it was like Hamdi something. Yeah, I think it was Hamza. I apologize. I really apologize for forgetting his name. Anyways, I need to sleep. You guys make sure to project. Inshallah, see you guys next time. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.